Good morning, Allisonville Christian Church, and welcome to all our visitors. Here are the announcements for the week of April 19th, 2020. For the duration of the quarantine, we are planning to continue all 4 of our online Bible study discussion groups. This week finishes up discussion of the Gospel of John, and next week we will begin reading Acts to learn more about the activity of God's Spirit in the early church. Even if you haven't been part of the gospel discussions, you are most welcome to join one of the groups. This is a free-flowing discussion led by your questions and comments. Jump in as much or as little as you would like. For information on how to access these meetings and reading plans, see the Weekly Buzz or go to allisonville.org/Zoom. We have started up several virtual replacements for our usual Sunday social group meetings. Our adult Sunday school class will meet at 1 p.m. The CYF group will meet at 2 p.m. and our Chi-Rho youth will meet at 6 p.m. Also, we'll offer a 20-minute Worship and Wonder meeting on Sundays at 12:45 p.m. for our younger members. Please see the latest newsletter for all of the information needed to join. The next ACC Book and Cookie Club will be Tuesday, April 28th at 7 o'clock, and the book is The Tea-Girl of Hummingbird Lane by Lisa C. We will meet online using Karen Bain's virtual meeting site. See the weekly newsletter for all the necessary information. This past week, most of you began receiving the first Getting to Know Us stories through email. This long-term ministry is intended to help us to know each other better. As we learn more about each other, we can form stronger connections with friends, old and new. If you haven't already, you will be hearing from someone, perhaps your elder, in the coming months to ask you about your story. Whatever you want to share, if you want to share anything, will help us all to know each other a little better. We are putting out a call for photos of all 2020 graduates. Please send a photo to Pastor Doug by May 27th so they can be put together into a slideshow to celebrate all of our graduates during worship. Even though we can't all be together, there is still a lot happening in our community and behind the scenes, and we couldn't include everything here. Be sure to keep an eye on our weekly newsletter for information, such as Earth Day tips from our Green Chalice team. You can also find more at Allisonville's Facebook page or visit our website at allisonville.org.